Yeah, I guess a week happened, but
I guess.
on my end, it's all Wharf Town.
It's Wharf Town.
Wharf tags. You got your Wharf tag on Mark of the Wharves.
Oh my God! I thought you were going to tell me you were just watching Star Trek.
No, you're the one that corrects it every time. So now you are.
Is it Wharf?
Hoisted by your own petard.
Oh, I did get hoisted. See, so here's how stupid I am. I have become so enamored with City of the Worves that I thought the singular of Worves was Worve.
I say wharf.
Not wharf.
No, I say wharf because VES is pluralizing an F.
That's how it would actually work.
Yeah. So, and then when you make your online account, you make a wharf tag, and then you jump into that online beta.
Yeah.
So
you got more time in that online beta than I did, I assume.
Got a bit more time in there, yeah, and got a feel for what's going on with the system and what's going on with the game as a whole, and perhaps a little more than that even.
I have heard that you got a little bit more than they wanted you to get out of that online beta.
A little bit more than I bargained for. So the long-awaited sequel to Garou: Mark of the Wolves, I think SNK's fucking one of their peak releases, the answer to Third Strike that they released for the 25 years we've been waiting. We finally got to take a look at what's going on, and they have, with the gameplay, found a really awesome way to balance and blend like old school challenging mechanics that require you to like activate all neurons to like play properly and to like act and to play at a higher level, and newer mechanics that are forgiving and allow you to do like a flashy combo and get a bread and butter down and kind of feel your way through the game and learn characters kind of quickly. They've taken the bones of an old fighting game, which Mark of the Wolves always felt like, and those are still in place. What that means is your combos. The first part of a combo is the most old school thing ever. You jump in and you land one button, and you better land it really late, because if you jump
real
in
deep,
you gotta land it deep. If you jump in and you hit them too high up in the head, by the time you hit the ground, they can already block, right? So you've got to do what King of Fighters games tend to do, and you have to hit that button late. All right, now that you've landed, pick a button, right? You're gonna get one in there, and then you're gonna go straight from that button into a special move, and that'll be what a normal old school combo used to look like, a 2-in-1.
Like a Street Fighter
right?
jump in 2-in-1.
Exactly. Now, if you're feeling frisky and you're like, hold on a minute, I'm kind of nice, then you can do a feint move, which is basically you can do like fake Hadokens or fake Shoryukens, and they serve the purpose of like, making somebody jump when you did actually nothing to bait something out. But they also allow you to quickly cancel from that first button into like a second one, so you're like, oh shit, I did something fancy. I pressed hard punch, I did like a fake Hadoken, and then I pressed light punch, and I landed that extra light punch, and now I'm gonna go into the special move. So you added one extra button. Holy shit.
That's crazy.
And then that's your combo. That's it. But the new modern way of things is that, like, if you decide to go into like an EX move, then you can just go from one EX move to another, and the game just lets you like cancel
just burn it.
all
just burn
of
every
them.
fucking button you got.
Yeah, and then at the bottom of the screen, your little accelerometer will go, and then you'll overheat, but it just lets you go as nuts as you want to from the moment the game starts. And so having the watching you do a bunch of EX special moves in a row is something very modern, in fighting games. But the first part of that combo requires you to play it kind of old school and like traditionally land and execute your fundamental buttons and work and stuff like that. So what that means is a lot of old school players, a lot of FGC people, and a lot of people that are looking for like a higher skill ceiling are really, really happy with this game, because you can see that it's requiring more neurons to be activated in moment-to-moment play, right? Something that Reggie was talking about, that a discussion that's happening now, is the cancel that I'm talking about, when you press a button and then do like a fake Hadoken, requires you to press 2 buttons to do that fake. And some people are like, oh, please put a button config so that it can be a single button instead. And Reggie and Kizzy K and a couple of other FGC folks are kind of like, no, keep it 2, because the fact that you have to think about that second one is just enough to like make it a little more challenging in the moment, and it kind of means like you can't just autopilot it in your brain and like make it like a rote memorization thing. Like you have to stay a little bit more present to always to think about hitting heavy punch, 2 buttons, light kick, 2 buttons, and then the next thing. It kind of adds that extra to it, which I'm like, yeah, I get that. I like the idea that you don't need to do this, but if you're feeling yourself, if you want to swag, if you want to optimize and get the nicest possible combos going with every ounce of damage, then you have to add this extra level of execution to it, which characters like Crimson Viper in Street Fighter 4 kind of are asking people to do that a little bit. And it's completely unnecessary for moment-to-moment gameplay. And I spent the entire weekend not really using those feints, Like I used them like to kind of like in the middle of standing there, I was trying to bait someone into doing something, but I didn't use them to cancel my buttons at all. So like it's a mechanic that is you can just you can look at that and be like, I'll learn that eventually, or not for now. You can approach it at your own pace, but it is there for you, and that's a cool thing to do with your gameplay.
I think there's been a lot of really interesting discussion in fighting games and other words, but we're talking about fighting games right now, about like the ease of accessibility for higher functions in gameplay can in many cases go too far and basically ruin your ability to actually express yourself. So do we need to go back to fucking 8-frame reversals on jump-ins in like Street Fighter 2, or like fucking tick throw nightmare shit with Balrog that you can't get out of? No, God, no. But like increasing the input leniency on things too far, like I saw people complaining about it in Street Fighter 5, and create situations where, like, yes, parrying stuff with Ryu's thing in 5 is not very exciting because it's fucking free.
It's not the same, right? Certainly, no. Right. But there's something to be said as well about like I've seen an advanced the next level of player expression when people are discussing that in the context of fighting games. What that meant back in the day, when you think about that, is like different people would play their own character very different from each other, even though they all play the same character. Right?
Yeah, there'd be people who, like, if you want to pick Guile as an example, people would hide in the corner and just throw down an infinity of sonic booms, and then the guy that would run up in your head with upside down kick.
But now there's a counterpoint which says that, like, player expression just means suboptimal play.
It does. And then literally does.
And then eventually, when everyone shares the online data and goes into the information in researching mode and labs it all out, we all know that this is the best way to play. And if you're not doing that, then you're not. You know what I mean? Like, there's that level of like expression goes away when knowledge increases, which is hilarious.
I've played enough fighting games and MOBAs and MMOs to feel like the pendulum has swung in a certain direction on that discussion, which is in limited spaces with small amounts of people, you can have infinite player expression because no one actually gets any good, right? Like, people get like kind of good, but they only get as big as their local pond.
Yeah, to some degree. Like, you can, in your local pond, you can just learn to outplay each other, like with your as individuals. But that's to say, but you can't. But then people like Arslan Ash exists as like Tekken gods because they found a way to make that pond represent Mount Olympus, you know?
So you instead get this thing where it's like, okay, well, there aren't like 400 different ways to play Guile for each person that plays Guile at your local arcade. And so the solution tends to be for all of these games is, instead of saying, well, I want to play Ryu like this, or I want to play Guile like this, the answer is, we're going to make a new character that plays in the style that you want to play.
Right, yeah. Perhaps
so that I started to notice that with like FF14 and MMOs in general, which is like, well, what's the class fantasy, and how do you want that class to play? Do you want to be fast? Do you want to be slow? Do you want to be supportive? Do you want to be etc., right? And so then it all builds up to, this is the correct way to play this class. If you don't want to play this class this way, go to that other class that we made to play that way.
Yeah. If you want a particular way that a Shoto plays, if you're looking for an evil Ryu, like, that's going to be a specific like second slot character over here with some particular differences that are not the same as Akuma, that are not the same as the way Ken pressures you, and all this other stuff, right? That has become something that has happened. The interesting thing too is that so while describing like this kind of like, this is what Mark of the Wolves used to be, you know, like there's a level of like old schoolness to the basics of the game here, but the skill ceiling is high if you want to approach it. At the same time, when it comes to how you want to deal with modern mode, right? It's interesting because here they've decided to do their own version of modern mode, which is
good. Everything should have a modern mode now.
It's very similar to Street Fighters, but is it not identical, and it is much more limiting, to the point that like it feels like while modern mode was and is something that like good players can use for particular styles of play that can compete with classic players in Street Fighter 6. In this case, I would not say that it's viable for like higher level play against people that are playing on classic.
So SNK's modern mode is for babies.
It is basic. It is meant to get you started, and it is meant to get you like to play with your friends and have fun, but like there is going to be a limit to how far you can go, because
that's fine.
That's okay. I wish it did encompass more, but like you can't do the feints or the breaks that I was just describing in the modern mode equivalent of City of the Wolves. Those mechanics don't exist, right?
That's fine. You
have a special move button like you did with Street Fighter, and then you have like 2 buttons for normals and then 1 button for performing combos. But essentially, and like you do have the ability to start training yourself, like if you want to manually attempt a fireball, if you're not used to that, you can do that, but you can't.
That's nice.
But like it doesn't let you manually do like a full super, for example. Like, so it's not completely the same, and I think it could do a little bit more to encourage people starting out that way to like take a chance on you know, one of these other inputs if they wanted to try it out. But it's there nonetheless, and it means that people can pick it up and just start pressing buttons regardless, you know. I
think that's honestly what modern mode's like intended purpose is supposed to be.
Yeah. If you're someone who is just looking like, okay, I want to just move my character around the screen, and then when I get close to my opponent, try to land a combo, and then when I've earned enough meter, occasionally I'll try to throw a super out, and that's basically what your entire game plan is. This is perfect for that, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, can we have our genre have a situation where the first time somebody plays our game, it's not a abjectly miserable fucking experience? Can we do that? Can we have something to mitigate that?
That being said, over the years, the easy operation, stylish modes and stuff that we've gone through in earlier games, the reason why modern was stood out was because of the fact that like it does allow you to get 90% of the way there, depending on which character, you know? So in this case...
And depending on the character, some of those changes are worth it.
Yeah. You know, it might even... some might argue even more, like, closer to 99, you know? But, like, in this case, it's much... The percentage is much further back than that, you know? So, in any case, I didn't see too much discussion about that over the weekend, but...
Well, because the people hopping on to an online multiplayer beta for an SNK game are typically going to be old heads that, like, can do raging storms.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the discourse around modern mode is going to be light.
But that is what I, that's what I, you know, spent the weekend kind of running into, you know, some SNK old heads and stuff. And part of that as well was participating in Rome himself's Regime Royale, which was just a collection of some players getting on for an exhibition. You know, they had some content creators, had some tournament players, just a whole bunch of FGC people got involved and did a bunch of first to fives. Ran a set with Reggie and participated. That was a lot of fun. So, you know, thanks to Rome for doing that.
I wonder what kind of world we would have lived in if Third Strike had Just Defend and Garou had the parry.
Capcom versus SNK 2 would have P groove and K groove inverted from each other, I suppose. Yeah, okay. You know, that's the biggest thing I can think of. But yeah, the idea, like, parrying in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, it gives you recover faster and you can, you know, instantly punish, and it requires you to, you know, have the balls to move into the attack, right? As the way I described it in that video, the Evo video. Just defending is like, be a coward at the last second. You know,
be a smart coward.
Yeah. And the weirdness of that is Evo Moment 37 with Just Defense is Daigo is healing.
Yeah.
As he's doing all of those, you know, as he's just defending, you're getting life back. Because the crazy thing with Just Defend, and now in this game especially, is that, like, every single resource... Hello? Did I disconnect from you?
Yeah, you disconnected for a second there.
Weird. Okay, well, I'm glad we're back.
Did you just defend your internet?
Perhaps, and I healed a little bit. Here we are. There's a slight lag on it. So every single resource that you have in that game, your life, your special meter, your Excel meter, everything gets improved and healed a little bit by just defending, right? So it lets you recover faster, it gives you life, it's so much of a reward for doing it. And that on its own is great, but if you feel really, really sick, you can instantly block a thing at the last second, get all those rewards, and then also instantly cancel into a super, and the super will come out faster than it usually does. So again, skill ceiling is up there. You know. So
I love you, Just Defend.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as like, cool, I managed to pull off a Just Defend guard cancel super twice the entire time. Yeah. I did it 2 times and I felt like a god, and that's it, you know. It's pretty hard to do, it feels like. And then, there's other things that are there where, you know, you kind of have these like dodging high or dodging low mechanics, and those are meant to break or avoid throws or avoid lows, but they also work into the rock, paper, scissors of these big like drive impact style rev attacks that you can do, the top attacks now essentially. So the system plays well together with everything going on, and it feels like an old school fighting game, but the moment you land that touch and you do that combo, the end of your combo is getting modern and fancy.
It becomes 10 years later.
Exactly, yeah. And then, you know, some of the design is very smart too, in the sense that So earlier I was describing how you can do EX into EX over and over until you burn yourself out. When you burn yourself out, you don't have access to any of your special mechanics or any of the stuff I just described. You're kind of like stuck, and you can get chip blocked to death. However, landing your big super secret level 3 resets your entire EX meter to 0. So
I did not catch that.
So if you land a combo and you look and you realize I have the money to spend on a full cash out super, like level 3 everything, I can burn my full meter, spend everything I have, and the end of that super, it's all reset to 0. So you get a massive reward, which is like, that's a really cool, almost like Doom Eternal loop, of cooldowns. It's a cooldown system happening where you've spent every resource you have, you've done the full loop, and at the beginning of the loop, your first thing that you spent is now back to normal, right? That's the rotation, excuse me, is that the word? Right? This game has the rotation in it.
I mean, Woolie, if you want to talk about rotations, like fighting in combos are just rotations.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
But here you can only do it for like that 1/3 of your life that you choose, So yeah, quite interesting. You pick which third of your life you want. You want to start the round with it? Do you want it to be in the middle, or do you want it to be your comeback at the end? While being fully aware that you can easily get juggled into a combo that takes away the entire section of life where that special ability would have unlocked,
Yeah, which is why you put it at the end.
Terrible. End is terrible placement. I've like so far it feels like that's just like you get touched and like, nah, you're not gonna get access.
Who gives a shit about any of that? Geese is alive.
So
we were laughing at how stupid it would be if Geese Howard just showed up in City of the Worves and was like, hey, I'm fine. And guess what, idiots?
Oh my god. So it's weird because so there's apparently some stuff leaking going on, whatever. I on my own with my own two saw some shit. Because folks discovered a fairly simple way to access a training mode, and inside of that training mode, you can go practice and whatever, and you can see a couple things. You can see that there's a stage where the line system returns, which is hilarious. You can see there's that Terry Bogard stage, like the Rock Howard like stage with the little cafe and stuff, But then you can also see all the music and of the music collection that you can select for each stage. There is a full every Final Fury games music is all there, and then the game's full soundtrack includes characters who have not necessarily showed up yet anywhere. And
that's crazy. Who would show up?
Nightmare Fallen Rock Howard.
Tons of characters they haven't announced that are like not that surprising, like
Art of Fighting
Andy
staples.
Bogart and Hokotomaru, or his fucking
and him being plus time. He's older now, and there was a little bit of there's a Rio in there. There's some stuff, and there was a Rick Stroud mention. So
that's crazy. I love Rick Stroud. Not as much as I love Vanessa, but he's cool.
But that feels like it's for the Rick Stroud fanboys out there, which literally became a gag online. Rick Stroud fanboys are like people like me, like shut the fuck up about Rick Stroud. So it's quite exciting to see that they're like, okay, we know some people care. And yeah, a bunch of that, and then of course you even got your full version of the theme song, Chain Reaction, which now that we can hear that thing, you're like, this is a perfect punk emo pop, like 2000s, early 2000s theme song that should be. If Mark of the Wolves 2 came out right after the first game, this was the era that it happened in, right? And the lyrics are all talking about Rock Howard's journey, how he's outrunning the circle of time, undecided, fate is irrelevant, and his heart feels one way, but the blood in his veins is another, and they're causing a chain reaction that no one can contain.
So dumb.
I fucking love it. I love that stupid emo pop song. It's the best. It's my favorite thing.
So I feel really happy that we had a discussion about this, I want to say 6 months ago, and I think it was about Heihachi. But I feel like it's happened enough times, and the Capcom people have said that like Gen is alive and shit like that, that we can now conclusively state that no one in a fighting game that has been a playable character has ever died.
Nope.
And if you think they did, you're wrong.
It's like comic books, right? It's the same rule, 100%. If a character exists and you know about them, there's value in them returning, especially if they're playable at some point.
It is much more extreme than I thought it would be, with characters that like entire games were built around them being dead and then decades went by.
You are dead if you were never playable, except for when you become playable and undead. Shoutouts to Goken.
So here's the question. You are dead in so much as your moveset was not very cool. If your moveset was pretty cool, you will undead. Now, people are saying Cliff in Guilty Gear, and okay, give it a minute. Because Guilty Gear has killed
Dream Matches, yeah,
has killed and brought back the same characters multiple times.
I would pop off so hard for a young Cliff flashback character. Just someone that shows up only in a flashback of story mode, but it's young Cliff. That would be so sick.
It'd be so sick.
But no, I think here you just need to. Yep, we just Nightmare Geese a million years, never forget. And it makes more sense too because I guess the whole thing where the Kine and Garant were like the villains of the first Garou. And now that Rock is joining his side because he tells him that his mom is alive and that we can go find her, like you can see that they're kind of like chummy to each other now. And even Terry is kind of like, okay, I guess I understand why you're doing all this, so fine. You talk and monologue like a super evil villain, but we kind of are growing to deal with you, so whatever.
I would be astonished if that Grant is actually dead. I assume he will show up in an ending or a title card.
Pat, he was there.
Oh, he was there.
He was there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Confirmed.
You don't even have to. Like, so this does do something that is probably annoying when you're making a fighting game like Tekken, and people are like, where the fuck is Heihachi on my roster? And you go, he's dead though. And now more than ever, the response is, who gives a shit?
Well,
who gives a fucking fuck?
Well, the weirdest one is the idea of like, okay, so Vox Reaper is the replacement for Grant. He's the new student. And you know, you see that with some characters that are pronounced replacements, Combat Kids, and well, they're kind of their own thing. You're right. Versus like,
I think Aki might be the best example ever. Because like Fung isn't dead, but he is permanently replaced forever.
And I think when we talk about like the Caliber Kids, right? You know, those are replacements, and like the Combat Kids kind of are their own new things that are hybrids and stuff. But then you have the ones where it's so replaced that you didn't even know that there was a different person, like King and Sub-Zero are characters that died and then got replaced by new versions of people doing their moves, and you didn't even know. No one did.
If you play Armor King in Tekken, you are playing, I think, Armor King 3, and you're playing King 2. And then
at one point that's it. So then there's the Armor King that like takes on. There's an Armor King 2 that takes on the mantle. You know, yeah. So it's wild with that, you know, where there's just like, you couldn't tell it was a character and a different person in the same mask.
There's characters that they're not dead, but the new replacement is so similar that if you stare at the game and don't read the title, you wouldn't know the difference. Like whatever Sophidia's fucking daughter's name is in Soul Cal 5.
Cassandra.
No, that's her younger sister.
Sophia.
Sophia, was her name fucking Sophia? Are you actually serious with me?
Is it Sophia or
people are saying it's Pyrrha?
Oh, Pyrrha 5. Okay. Yeah, excuse me.
Dude, that is like a Tekken style 1-to-1 Julia Chang fucking situation.
Yeah. That is just the complete Kunimitsu as well is a different Kunimitsu. It's not the same. Right, that's Kunimitsu 2.
Yoshimitsu, weirdly enough, the same guy.
Same one, same robot.
That's the reverse of what we're talking about.
Same robot alien, can't get rid of him. Every Jack is a different Jack. Yoshimitsu is forever.
It turns out you can't replace decades of love and memories for specific characters no matter what you do to their moveset or look. I love Guile and Bison.
Yeah.
And Balrog. like I love them.
Shout outs to Vox Reaper being like, stay away from my billionaires.
Oh, that's great.
Protect the rich. What a villain. Truly, it's like, oh, the new guy on the bad team, huh? Okay, let's see how dark he is. He's like
he just
hey.
He says a shirt on, a t-shirt that just says I love rich people. Law.
It's I need him and fucking Forrest Law standing next to or Martial Law standing next to each other, like Cena and that black guy with the shirts saying I hate anime and I love anime. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Which way, kid? Which path do you take? You know, truly the villain. That's like, and you know what? He's a assassin that like was taken in and reformed and is now defending the most bourgeois ass Kynar Heinlein, you know, and his dreams. So of course you got to be on board. You got to be super on board. It's great. That was all there. What was
I love that Gen is alive. That's my favorite one. That is by far my favorite one out of every fighting game character to ever not die. It's got to be Gen. Dying of what? Lung cancer, leukemia, or some shit back in like the early 90s, then objectively killed by Akuma. Only to be like, he's fine.
Nah, I didn't kill him though. He stopped thinking.
Goku Satsu'd the cancer.
Yeah. He
grabbed a hold of Gen and took his cancer to hell.
And Gen felt better afterwards. I can't wait to see what happens to Lao in Virtua Fighter. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be dead, man.
Let's see. So there was all that. I think as well. Whatever. The SNK lore will continue. I'm sure we'll have bits and pieces to dive into. And then there's what happens when you're not playing the fighting game.
What's that? What's happening when you're not playing City of the Worves?
You're trying to matchmake. You're trying to find games, and it's taking forever because the matchmaking is really, really bad. And it's
like a cataclysmic problem.
It's a step down, even though they had the same problem in KOF 15, and then KOF 15 at launch had a huge matchmaking problem. They tweaked it so that it got a bit better at a certain point, and now we're back to a worse version of it, which is just like, why would it be this way? And you're like, I guess. The people that are the gameplay battle designers, you know, I mean, Neo G and all the folks that made a bunch of great fighting games over the years are over back at SNK. So that side of the game is running smoothly. But I don't know if the new board, you know, I forgot the name of the Chinese company, but like whatever they're doing. Online seems to be enough of a priority that they have rollback, but not enough that like they have a smooth matchmaking experience.
Hey,
and
you know it's a fun thing the way we had this discussion. We're like, man, this fighting game is so cool to play, and then we segued into if you can
play it. You know, the menus are a little bit clunky and weird with the negative edge buttons to like you release to move the screen over sometimes, which is very strange. And it's not very straightforward to get to some places as well. Going in and out of your online profile is like 10 seconds of loading. Getting, doing anything relating to essentially your account. I never really thought too much about the big deal it was when Capcom announced CFN as like, hey, we've invented a thing called CFN. It's a big registered online network where you put in a fighter tag and it tracks your records and whatever, right? And I remember like, okay, they brought that out there for 5, and 5 had its own problems, so we were kind of just like, okay, well, at least that you don't really think about that feature as anything special, because you're just like, well, yeah, duh, that should be the case. I should be able to register my shit online and play. And now you're kind of like, oh my god, actually, that is a humongous deal, because it means that like I don't have this weird problem where you go into the records and data screen on City of the Wolves and you get a message that says, if you delete your save data, you're going to lose your record of all of data and matches and analytics for everything you've done.
Are you fucking serious?
So it's like
what?
You literally, yeah, and that shit's tied to your save file. This is especially bad because Samurai Showdown.
You can just hack your fucking client side ranking.
So not your ranking, your other info. Right?
Oh, good.
Samurai Showdown had a problem when it released where your ranking was tied to your save data, and that broke the online entirely. It was completely batshit, because if you ever, deleted, formatted, whatever, lost the console, anything happens, you just lose your entire ranking, right? You can't log back in anywhere because the game had no, I guess, budget to have an online registered account of any kind. So there was no way to just make sure that shit was saved on the cloud and whatever, right? So Samurai Showdown, they learned a huge stupid lesson from that, which was don't tie your progression and ranking and online shit to the save file. And so here, now your save progression, your actual rank is the only thing that doesn't get lost, but all other metrics, stats, usage data, etc., everything else associated is all gone there. And it's just like, if you just had the ability to have an account of some kind, this wouldn't be a problem. But then now it's like, oh, but do they just are like, we don't have the money for that, you got to get the bare bones experience, that's what.
Can't wait for them to release this game and spend like 18 months patching it, and then be like, look, we fixed the online long after it has completely died.
Well, so this is why I was saying that when I see something like this, where the game itself is super fun to play, but you've got really long matchmaking issues and everything outside of that is just struggling, unfortunately, my brain goes, damn, I guess Second Impact is going to be the one that fixes all of this, because this is KOF 12 and KOF 13 is going to be great, right? You're going to come along and find a better package. Like the meat is good, the bones are brittle. We need to replace those bones with some steel rods, and we don't have the fucking time to wait for that surgery to recover because this game's coming out in 2 months. So that's what, unfortunately, that's the bad side about this, is that
maybe over the course of releasing like 6 or 7 games, SNK can make a decent online, because they get a little bit better every time, right?
They do get a little bit every time, but now we got to step backwards. And another thing that gets a little bit better every time is like, the way their games look, right? And I will say that, as stepping off the other two subjects there, the way this game looks, this is the best looking new SNK game they've released. It has a lot of fun. When you go into the if you screenshot any moment in one of the big specials, you see their answer to paint and ink splashes from Street Fighter is dot tone, right? You see pop art dot tones in the background. You see really bright colors. You see a big white outline around the active character, and it looks very fun. And like the filters and stuff are very aggressive and stylish. The 3D models are still kind of struggling, though, to look as impressive as anything that the other mainline fighting games are, because
it's okay, man. SNK is just like a little baby company. They just look a little, they're just a little birthday boy.
It's some really cool visual effects laid over some 3D models that are still not 100% there. You know, better than 14, way better than 14, better than 15, but way subpar to. I mean, it's going to be unfair, but Guilty Gear Strive is the best looking fucking thing I've ever seen. You know,
I would like to, I would like to actually stop you right there and ask you, how is that unfair?
Because I know that, like, this is a company that died and resurrected in the hands of a completely different owner that has a fraction of the team size, budget, and operating costs by comparison to ArcSys and Team Red and everything going on over there. But nonetheless, the history of this company and why that comparison feels normal is because SNK used to be second to Capcom, you know?
I'm gonna have to take a quick break in like 2 seconds, but before I go, I have to say I totally understand exactly what you mean about the team size and the historical thing, but I just Googled it on the Steam. No, I Steam searched it, and a Mark of the Worves costs, sorry, City of the Worves costs $83, and Guilty Gear Strive costs $53. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
how is not fair to compare new game that is $30 more to old game?
It's a version of the why isn't every game hitting Baldur's Gate 3 levels of complexity, right? It's a new version of that applied to this. We'll get into it in a second.
Well, I mean, I would say that KOF 14 started this discussion because KOF 14 looks bad.
Yes,
still
that
it looks poor.
SNK returning with KOF 14 was them essentially when Nintendo dropped out of the main 2 race and became like, we're going to be third forever and we're just going to sit back here. We'll continue the thought.
Yeah, I'll be right.
Okay. So yeah, to finish the thought, I think that most major releases of like all the fighting games we know and franchises we know have been like striking upon first sight, and that
I would say so.
And that leaves an impression with, you know, a new buyer, a new audience, a potential person that you can appeal to when you see how good Street Fighter 6 looks, when you see how good Strive looks, Dragon Ball Fighters, you know, all of these things are like, there's a holy shit, you know, impression to it. And and even Mark of the Wolves, the original, was the most impressive looking thing they'd ever made at the time as well, back then. So it comes from that place, and now we're in a place where each game is kind of releasing its own, like, check this shit out. This is some crazy level, next level visuals you've never seen before. And here it's just like, yeah, the style is just improved upon what they previously released, and it's their most stylish. But this new era feels like it's only SNK is almost only comparing themselves to themselves, like Nintendo in this third slot of like, we're just going to be compared to what we do over here. We're not in the main race anymore, you know. It feels like when you look at the modeling in particular, like, you can see it's clearly not a completely new team from scratch or anything. It's probably the same folks that worked on 14, got better over time, and then made 15, and now got better again, and you're seeing the best they can do right now, which is, you know, but it's just like, it's not hitting that level of the showstopper when you saw, like, oh my god, Goku is just Goku. You know.
So, like, yes, but I also feel like these are kind of all intertwined because, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older, or maybe it's because I use Steam almost exclusively, and there's a billion fucking games that are always fighting for your time. Like, hey, I love fighting games, and I want to play a SNK fighting game. And notice that this brand new fighting game is, I really like the style City of the Wolves has.
Me too.
But like, it's not the best looking game in the world, but I like it. I dig it.
That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I'm looking at a situation where it's like, okay, well, it's not the best looking game in the world, but I really like these characters in this system. So if I want to pay full price for it, so like I'm in order to make me not feel stupid, it's got to have like banger online, right? Oh, like
yeah,
if you're gonna charge full price,
including
then I kind of expect certain de facto settings and features to exist.
it can't be a discussion anymore. You know, we need to be past this part. And yeah, including all of season 1, every edition is special edition is the way they're selling it. Yeah, no, of course, when I say Nintendo and third, I mean like they're not competing in the same race anymore.
No, Nintendo pretends they exist in their own games industry. And to be fair, considering some of the news we're going to talk about later today, maybe that's a better games industry.
And so I think something. So the same thing. While I like the way this game looks and I like what's going on with it, it's just when you start comparing is where we get this discussion kind of happens. You know, not to put like the undue amount of weight over here, but it is interesting considering the history of the franchise. Something that I noticed as well tells the tale of the tape even more than the character models is the particle effects. Because they've struggled with particle effects for a couple of games now, right? The way the fire and flames and explosions all kind of look. How does the power guys are looking in each game, you know? Holy fuck, the power geyser in Street Fighter 6 looks incredible.
It looks so good.
There's two of them.
It's SNK's move.
There's two of them, you know? And I think here you see some examples where it looks fantastic, right? So as a big old Rock Howard fanboy, the wings look great. I love when he does it and you see the pedals drop down afterwards. They're like, oh, we know you like those wings. We're going to push them. We're going to put them in his extra super. Like it looks fantastic. And then when I think about, and I look specifically at Kane and his win pose, right? That's the one where it's like, Kane's win pose in the original game was this amazing shot of him holding his hands open and a giant explosion of fire pops off. You hear the sound of the oxygen in the room burning away, and it looks incredible, right? And the team or the animators that like looked at that and said, let's convert this to 3D, didn't notice the specific little details to make that feel as intimidating, you know?
No. Either they didn't notice or it's hard.
Maybe, I don't know, but one way or another, there's little things there where you're like, I love this part of that, and you didn't do that here. He floats up and it's like a softer, more flaccid version of it, and you're like, damn, we didn't both feel the same thing looking at this. And imagine if you saw a new animation of Ryu doing a Hadouken, but now his shirt doesn't explode backwards. Right?
Well, that would be silly.
And you're like, well, it didn't used to in the past, but then ever since we saw that in Street Fighter 3, and we all went, oh my god, that's such a cool thing. His clothing gets blown back by the fireball. And you're like, yeah, we're never not doing that again. And then and someone comes along and then forgets to do that. And you're like, oh, but didn't you notice how cool that was? Why would you not do that? You know, it's just those little bits where you're like, that's what made that game back in the day go put it above everything they'd previously done, you know?
I think these two topics are like intrinsic, because no one would be complaining about the way the game looks if they were just spending time playing matches.
Yeah, I get, you know,
right?
That's it. You know, that's true too. And there is a level of like, you don't want to become the person that like you spend more time complaining about this game than actually playing it. That's a crowd in the FGC that is out there getting exposed all the time for sure.
Well, that's not just the FGC.
Kim's pants is a really good, you know, thing we've looked at over the years of like, look how amazing those pants looked, almost too good in 13, and we just had to,
like, if you want to be like super unfair in a way that's technically fair, hey, how come none of the stages in any of the 3D KOF games look as good as that Sweden stage where it's raining?
Sure.
How come they don't look that good? Is it because that's literally impossible due to the way technology works?
The empty sandy desert in KOF 2000 even, like even that there's some character to the sand. Yeah, so all that to say, that there's those little bits that you kind of are like, yeah, I guess that's just not what we're getting here. But I am glad we are still getting another entry into the Fatal Fury franchise proper. And I'm here to huff the copium. This is a good game, and I want to see it succeed. I think it can get there, and I look forward to seeing, if it can get patched into solving a lot of these problems, because it really is like a really fun fighting game, and they did a great job just taking something that a challenging thing to do on paper with the gameplay and nailed that.
I think it's wild that me, Cope Master Extreme over here, Virtua Fighter fan. I look at VF5 Evo, and I'm like, yeah, no, that online was always going to suffer really badly because of the lack of players, right? That was its fate, and it's really cool that they're supporting that game for people like me and like the 2,000 other people that play it almost every other day. But like, yeah, that was its fate. But I look at City of the Worves, and I'm just like, man, if people pick that game up on day one and fucking spend a couple minutes trying to get into a match in that first 5-minute period, that game is cooked. That game is it has a 5-minute window to get you into a match and have a good experience, and then get you into a second match. And if it doesn't do that, it's fucking cooked.
Yeah, again, I mentioned it before, but the fact that you share your rank across characters is just a really dumb thing that needs to change as well while we're talking about it.
You're just as good with every character.
Everyone will get their ranking with their best character and be afraid to play ranked with anybody else, because you're gonna de-rank with anybody that is not your best character,
Stupid.
Yeah.
Really?
No, like when on the little stream on Get Out of Fighting Games there, you mentioned it, but it's like, okay, so what's gonna come out is a fighting game that's really fun to play, that's gonna be plagued by other issues, and you were like, I don't know if it's worse or better, because
because you want it to be shit, and then it's like, I didn't even care about that anyway.
You can just dismiss it entirely, or do you want it to be, God damn it, it's actually really good, but it's being held back, But look, what has this genre been if not a series of good games held back by other bullshit, right? That's
bullshit.
That's the story of every fucking release.
I mean, we talked about easy operation, all that stuff, but online play. So if Garou doesn't work out, if City of the Worves doesn't work out, there's always multiverses.
Yeah.
That is the exact laugh I wanted, by the way.
I guess there's a time when quality of life becomes mandatory to life. Right?
It's one of those things.
Right?
It's one of those things. I saw this person talking about the other day, where they're like, people don't appreciate shit because up 100 years ago, ain't nobody was getting hot showers, right? Now a hot shower is just part of your day-to-day routine, right? And you should appreciate that for the miracle that it is. Nah, people should have hot showers. Fuck you. Hot showers rule. My online game should work when I pay money for it.
Quality of life becomes life support. It really does, man.
The base functionality of my life now is to be able to wash my butt in not cold water. I'm not going back. Well, you see, this region you could move to is it's amazing. There's no electricity though, but look, it's so pretty. Nah, you know what? Electricity is important. Hot water heater is important. Mark of the Wolves.
The most formative and beloved fighting games of my life were played without ever touching an online connection.
Yeah, you live in the current world, and you're an adult man, and you're not in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like it does feel a bit like one whirlwind of a director can kind of look at that and go like, we gotta whip this thing into shape. What the fuck are we doing?
That happens all the time, all over the game space. Somebody comes into the room and goes, "Why are you doing it like this? This is stupid. Fix it." Oh, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, then.
But yeah, that is Fatal Fury, City of the Worves. And you know what? I promise you right now, my brain will not stop saying Garrow. So
I don't know if you've noticed, but I have almost called it Mark of the Wolves almost every single time.
Yeah.
I have not acclimated to the Worves city yet.
I like saying Garrow. It feels good. It sounds cool. I enjoy those words. Yeah. All right, so we'll see what happens. And that I just wanted to talk about that. Obviously, that's all I got to talk about. So.